So, what are we going to do today? I'll tell you what we're going to do. I don't think Diana is awake. That's impossible. How could she be awake? I don't think Diana is. How could she be awake? Okay, what are we doing? We are done. Okay, done. Okay. Is that all there is to it? Yep, okay. Now, are you ready for some divine intellect revolutionary? Shit. Okay, let's talk about, let's do some extended math. Let's do. Okay, we don't have operators, operator overloading, but what we do have is okay. First of all, you don't need main. You don't need main, and I guess it's kind of like MATLAB. I don't remember MATLAB. So 64 bits. You might ask, what is so special? I'll tell you what's special. Let's see if it did it work. Shift product low left set. Did we set A? Where did we set A? You son of a bitch. We didn't set A to 0. Yeah. Oh, we do that. Okay. We didn't. Okay. And then we add shifted. It should be good. Okay. So this is why. This is one. This is a divine intellect operating system. And let's see here. If let's see. In one, shift it over one. I don't know if this is gonna work. I think so. Carry. Now I know there's a, we already have this instruction. Never mind. Say product. Let's see if this works. There's already a 128-bit multiply okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, 100 times 100 equals 0. That's not what we want. That's the high bit for product. Yeah, okay. Don't carry. Okay. Move. Jump above or equal. What the hell is that? Oh, that could be carry, as a matter of fact. Jump, not carry. Okay. Son of a bitch, what the fuck? What is your malfunction? This is not gonna help. This didn't print any ones. N1. Shift it over. Shit. Is there a binary? I think. In one. Well, that would make a difference. I was getting clever because I did not want to. Never mind. Okay. Okay. I did not want to disturb the carry flag with the store, but the store doesn't affect it. I was just paranoid. Okay, so 100 times 100 is 10,000. 10,000 hex 2710. Okay, so now we're going to have some fun. Let's work in hex. Four, and what? We got a 0 from that's a very strange problem. Oh, we have 16. I'm kind of spacing out. Okay. Okay, so as you can see, let's put commas in here. Did I do 4 commas? This is the most advanced operating system. Okay, 4. I gotta do a comma here. Okay, 4. We multiplied by 4. Okay. We have to change this to put 3 commas, so 19. Okay, so there's an assembly instruction that does this in one. Hey, that didn't work. No, it did work. That's what I was looking for. Okay. Anyway, who knows? So, let's review. The command line feeds into a C compiler. The command line feeds into a C compiler. If you enter let's just it's not counting. Okay, so we just printed the value. Okay, so it feeds into a C compiler. It compiles incrementally, function by function. And in case you're curious, the data goes, it uses malloc off of the code heap. There's a malloc for the code heap, and it puts the code into malloc. That just indicates that it's no address in particular. It is easier to make a just-in-time compiler than ahead of time because you don't need to create a binary file. So the in my operating system, we don't protect data. We don't protect code and unprotect data. It's all unprotected. So the string for the data goes right here. You can, all memory is read, write, execute. So it's 64-bit assembly. It does have register variables for locals. It doesn't do 32-bit, as a matter of fact, because there's only 8 registers, and it's set for 16 registers. So even if I wanted to, I could not do 32-bit. There's a, if you've used MATLAB, there's a, this is the environment variable symbol table, or it's the symbol table, it's the compiler. So there's a directory command. A statement outside of a function executes immediately. If you want to see what it compiles to, it compiles the directory command, calls a system function, returns. There's the string. Okay, so I started doing C++, so you can say directory with default arguments. Now, at this point, I said, do I really need parentheses? Because, you know, it would be a lot less typing And so what I did is I said, if there's no arguments, we don't need parentheses. Now, does that blow your mind? Why does C have parentheses? Well, first of all, it sort of helps, gives you some information. So there are, if you want to be a snob, you can say it, well, it helps give information. But the only side effect is address of functions. If you call qsort the normal syntax for qsort is to pass a function pointer. So you would say, let's just say directory was our comparison, then whatever, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, and then you would say directory. The normal C syntax does not have an address, so you can see how this would confuse, that it would do a call instead of a function pointer. And so what I did is I made an ampersand mandatory. Whenever you're dealing with the function pointer, put an ampersand, and that makes it unambiguous. Someone told me today that the C language in fact accepts with or without. I didn't know that anyway. So we have an environment variable. So guess how we have a function here. Guess how, or we have a file. It feeds into a C compiler. So guess how we do this? This just continues compiling. It's the same syntax. You know, like we can put a directory here, star.text. Now when I say include, you need a semicolon. Well, you don't. Oh, we're unassembling. Let's get rid of that. Trace off. Okay, it compiled the file. And okay, I kind of fucked that up. Okay, no matching entries. And look at that, it printed some stuff. So escape. Let's try it again. Okay, so it did a directory of star.text. Okay, so are you following? Isn't this amazing how elegant? Now guess what? When you boot, if you go to the kernel, it starts at the start, and then there's a binary file for the kernel. There's no make, there's no linker, it just includes all the code, and it's done incrementally, function by function. It doesn't make segments or anything like that. It doesn't rearrange into segments, it just does function by function. So that means the order is preserved. So k end happens to be where I put the main. After changing to 64-bit mode, long mode, it starts compiling. It starts executing here. It loads the compiler module, and this is the critical thing. It starts the first task is Adam, and he starts compiling start OS. So if we change directory, so start OS is like autoexec.bat. You can kind of think of it that way. So at this point there's one task and there's nothing. Then it starts filling the symbol tables with the symbols for the kernel and the compiler. Actually, this is not just the kernel and compiler. These are headers. Binary files have headers. Now the amazing thing is it doesn't include, and what we do is we make a make in each directory. So in the Atom directory there's a make Atom, and this starts including some subdirectories. In the God directories there's a make God. In the doll docs there's a make doc. Okay, so if you do a line report, we set a limit of 100,000 lines for all eternity. The compiler is 18,000, the kernel is 23,000, and then those are ahead of time. The remainder is the Atom, and that's 35,000. So there's no real there's no real difference between the kernel module. Well, it goes into the low memory, so it has a limit of 640K. Less than that, as a matter of fact. But anyway, there's no, all the memory is, everything is kernel, nothing is kernel, however you want to say it. There's no real difference between the kernel module and the code in Atom. These are like DLLs. I think it's fair to call these DLLs. So if you wanted to make a DLL, all you have to do is, now I kind of did this snobby. At the end of the start, it goes into your home directory and calls make home. Now in my home directory there is no make home, and if it doesn't find a file it searches the parent. And I'm kind of snobby. I'm using the default, which is in the root directory, which is the parent directory. So this calls home packages. So home packages includes my, I have my website file with the handy Batman key plugins. Let's say we want to beep during boot. Now I can do a boot that doesn't engage the BIOS. It's just it's just copying the kernel. Okay, we got a beep. So that was when it compiled. It compiles 40,000 lines during boot. It can compile 100,000 lines a second. So if we want to echo during boot, change that to 1, and we reboot. Now it's compiling. It does this every time, but right now we're displaying. It does 40,000 lines during boot. And you can see at the end of the startup, it's creating the terminals that we see right now, because there's other tasks on the system, as you can see. There's how did those two terminal how did we get the two terminal windows, you might ask. So the two terminal windows were done in sys. It does user causes the terminal window, and then it tiles the vertical tiles, and then it calls the autocomplete to initialize the autocomplete. And when it's done, Anyway, so I can reboot. No, we don't want that. So how do we make a utility? Let's say we want a special command. Go to packages. I don't know. So we're just going to make a move. Okay, now we made a utility. Now we're going to reboot. I hate when that happens. If it crashes on the startup script, try the emergency editor fix. I left off a semicolon. Escape, reboot. There wasn't the standard editor. Now if I say moot 10. Okay, so it's that easy. So notice how elegant this is. What if we want a global variable? What if we want I don't know, this is bad. Okay, global equals I. So moot 3. And if I say glbl 3. Now this code is in the Atom task, and so that means it's system wide. Global is 3. We can assign the global. So anyway, so it's that easy. Piece of cake. You know everything there is to know. It's that easy. All you have to know is what I taught you. Now you know the whole thing. So if a symbol's not found, it searches the parent. There aren't any symbols. If plus recurse, these are the ones in the Atom task. I'm paranoid that I changed something. I keep my C and D drive identical. Throughout the day I back up to the and I do all transfers in and out using my D. My D is my backup. So what else do we want to do? Let's go take a look and see what it's divine intellect, bitches. That's not good. Is that good? That's not good. Hey, there's nobody here. Two watching. Nobody's here. Nobody's here.
She called me Mr. Bombastic, tell me fantastic. Put me on me box, she says I'm Mr.
You live life your way. We can help you retire your way too. Financial guidance while you're mastering life. From Chase, so you can.
That's pretty low. Okay, we're going to put this into my blog. Oh, it's a new day. Okay. Oh, you're here. Good. How goes it? Okay, I just wanted to, the clock rolled over on my blog, so I'm, regenerating my website. You guys probably wanted programming stuff. Got any questions? How about that? Got any questions? Regenerating my website. You guys probably wanted programming stuff. Got any questions? How about that? Got any questions? Regenerating my website. Okay, I can talk. Sweet OS. They picked a they really got unlucky. I think maybe he's being funny. What do you think of the name TempleOS? I changed the name a lot. I'm pretty happy with TempleOS. I need to trademark, register it, but I wonder if someone would have to be a real asshole. I don't think someone would have to be a real asshole to steal my trademark. Website looks really nice. I don't think this is an operating system. The N-word might be what you're referencing. But we're probably worried about the N-word. I don't know. Anyway, so talk to the BBC. BBC says Troy Davis is getting executed in an hour, and his last meal is pizza. What do you know? Terry Davis is eating pizza. Fuck you, BBC. Troy Davis has mental problems. His last meal is pizza. He's getting executed in an hour. Mock executions. That's Geneva Convention, motherfucker. Tyrone Davis is getting executed in an hour. Tyrone Davis is a very spiritual person. Fucking Barney Fife, psyop, motherfucker. there is a invasive species of frogs in, no, how about, this is an example. This weekend is a cull of the wild horses in Nevada. The wild horses are out of control. So we still have to prove Mr. God. Okay. So everything is all set. We're going to do some serious miracles. So, do you know what NIST is? Let's go review NIST. We can go to any of these random number sites. Anyway, it's a random number by the National Institute of Standards. The way I explain this to niggers, NASA has a ping pong lottery ball machine, and they post the numbers once every minute from their ping pong lottery ball machine. It's NASA. That's how I explain it to a nigger. First, the beacon-generated numbers cannot be predicted before they are published. Some people seem to think there's a... I don't know why anyone would... Why would it be otherwise? Why would someone make a site that's the National Institute of Standards if it wasn't good for exactly what you think it's good for? What do you think it's good for? Of course that's what it's good for. Second, the public time-bound authenticated nature means the user application allows the user application to prove to anybody that a truly random number is not known before a certain point in time. Third, the proof can be presented offline at any point in the future. Hardware random numbers. Okay, so my website just finished. So you have to do an offering. I kind of did an offering. Tyrone Davis Gaming. And his last meal is pizza. What do you know? Oh. Okay, so let's just go quit with the drama. We could call it ahead of time, and then at the moment, if I peaked, I could keep talking until it was a good number. But there's only one number every minute. So it's like 2 lottery tickets instead of 1 lottery ticket. Now we are doing oh shit, I have to explain this. We're picking from 30 books using the ping pong ball lottery number from the NASA lottery winning website. I'm trying to explain it so that we are absolutely clear. Oops. So, let's go find some stuff to talk about. First of all, let's see what we got. So I like to publish before I read it myself, just because it feels more okay. Thanks and praise, but for those obstinate questionings of sense and outward things falling from us, vanishing blank misgivings of a creature moving about in worlds not realized, high instincts before which our mortal nature did tremble like a guilty thing surprised, but for those first affections, those shadowy recollections which, be they what they may, are yet the fountain light of all our day, are yet a master light of all our... Well, so let's go to the BBC. Let's see if they... Tyrone Davis.
Tap the screen to support what you'll be listening to next. Wherever you browse on our site, the audio continues uninterrupted.
After a while, you get used to being the center of the media, and it's actually more entertaining. I used to suffer, but now I kind of like it. I get spoiled. I like media that's about me. It's much better when it's about you. Guantanamo Bay. God likes soap operas. This is not about me. So that's... What the hell is this? It's not about me. God, I thought God was against immigration, but sometimes he says the other answer. Okay, so you know what we're going to do? We are going to... I should read it before I... You have to do an offering before God will talk. So in my blog, Control L, text entry, the pen. Now this, normally HTML has nothing to do with my operating system. But when I use it to make my website, and a normal person doesn't have any use for this field. But now, when I call this program to HTML, it converts my document to an HTML document, and when it sees that link, it makes a HTML link. So we just called it, I have it rigged. Oh well, long story short, it converted it to HTML. Now we're gonna export out of my, oh, we didn't do the we didn't get the response. So we're going to go, so we're picking from 30 books. If you want to see the formula, I'll publish it again. So basically, I can tell you what it does. It counts the number of bytes in 30 books, but it has a tricky thing. It doesn't count the last 512 because it doesn't want to truncate a passage. So it subtracts 512 from each book, 512 bytes. And then once it gets a count, then it you pass it a random number, and it treats it as a number from 0 to 1, and it multiplies a random number from 0 to 1 by the total count. And then once it has, so that gives you, if you have a number from 0 to 1 times the total number of bytes, and then you have to go through the books again and then print the book that was picked. Sometimes they criticize me for not being, somebody was complaining I was using decimal numbers. It's very easy to do it complicated. It's very hard to do it so that everybody understands. It's a nightmare. In fact, most people, this is too hard for most people to understand. I didn't look. I should have looked. Shouldn't I have looked? I wonder if a special person is watching. Oh, I can, no. Yeah, actually. Sometimes a special person is awake. Oh, first of all, let's go see what we got. Oh, that's not what we want. Clown, a pestilence on him for a mad rogue. I poured a flagon of Rhenish on my head once. This same skull, sir, was Yorick's skull, the king's jester. This, clown, and that, let me see, takes the skull. Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him, Horatio, a fellow of infinite jest and of most excellent fancy. He hath borne me on his back 1,000 tunes. And now how abhorred in my imagination it is, my gorge rise at it. Here hung those lips that I have kissed, I know not how. Okay. You see, I thought he's I can't remember if he's the French or the English far right. Le Pen, is he? Sounds French. Oh, it is French. Okay. Who's the English far right person? Whatever. Let's put BBC back on the air. Oh, who was that? Let's go find out. Oh, that's the philosopher. I don't know. That's hard. Oh, whatever. Let's put the BBC back.
Tap the screen to support what you'll be listening to next. Wherever you browse on our site, the audio continues uninterrupted.
China of manipulating its currency. Scientists in Brazil say the Zika virus may be much more dangerous than previously thought. Experts have told the BBC that the mosquito-borne virus may be linked to many damaging neurological conditions. From Rio de Janeiro, Wira Davis.
Somebody is far too eager to play God. So the BBC is taking advantage of population control in Brazil. The BBC wants to do population control in Brazil. You're a little too eager for my liking. There is a God. You don't need... It's really obvious. Why are they never talk about Brazil. What's the... You're just a little too eager to do population control. There's an invasive species of frog in Australia. They're killing. There's a call of wild horses in Nevada. PSYOPs. Tyrone Davis is being executed. You know, I don't mind if Brazil has less population. I don't care. The Orchis scabious and Felicernera. The corolla of this flower, Aristolochii clematitis, which is tubular but terminating upward in a ligulate limb, is inflated into a globular figure at the base. The tubular part is internally beset with stiff hairs pointing downward. The globular part contains the pistil, which consists merely of a germen and stigma, together with surrounding stamens. The stamens, being shorter than the germen, cannot discharge the pollen so as to throw it upon. So let's review. We have 30 books. We have a random number that's you can verify. They have a NASA lottery ping pong ball every 60 seconds. 89AFB5 is the output. 89AFB5. That's a random number from 0 to 1. If you take 32 digits, or 32 bits, 32 bits is from 0 to 1. Multiply by the number of bytes in all the files, 22FB. So we're taking a number from 0 to 1, multiplying. What do you know? This is an example of the 64-bit. So if you change this to a number from 0 to 1, it's about 55%. And then you multiply by 2, you multiply this, that gets you to half, which is, so the final result is this, 12D0. Now if you go up to the list of books, 12D0, 12D0 is in, oh, it's in Poe. 12D0. Are you kidding me? What the truck? 12D0C84. 12D0C. It's in Darwin. What are you talking about? Isn't it Darwin? Poe. It is Poe. Okay. The previous one was Darwin. What? Where was the one? This is. Oh, I thought we were reading Darwin. This is Edgar Allan Poe. Okay. Darwin is what you would normally. We get Darwin so often because it's so big.
Tap the screen to support what you'll be listening to next. Wherever you browse on our site, the audio continues uninterrupted.
Take 20,000 refugees, Syrian refugees, in a matter of 5 years. That's about 4,000 a year. Now, we have been playing host to these many refugees, right?
It's not
We
the
have
refugees who are the problem.
No, no,
The
of
problem is the
course.
Taliban leadership who've used your soil as safe haven for many, many years. Now, you, with respect, again, as foreign minister, you denied, you obfuscated. Now, in the recent past, just a few months ago, we had a senior Pakistani official for the first time say, it is true, they are on our soil, they even receive medical treatment under our auspices. And he said, you know what, that gives us some sort of leverage over them.
Yes.
But the truth is, you don't use that leverage.
No, I think that would be completely, that would be misrepresentation of things as they are on the ground. So I need to finish my 2 minutes.
Muslims are barbarians. We're gonna have the difference is that English is the language of the Roman Empire. English is the new Latin. We're going to put the operating system with the Bible in English into all the CPUs in the world, or at least the x86. We don't care about ARM, just desktop. And we're going to force everybody to buy a really powerful desktop. There's a reason. Okay, so once every minute we get a random number. This is for 1:12 a.m. 1:12 a.m. So let's. I didn't check the time. That'll be a problem. I need the time because I post a back link to verify it. If it's wrong, then I have to adjust the time. It was 1:12, but that's it's Unix time. Did you know that my age is approximately Unix time? I was born December 69. and Unix is January 70. That's kind of cool. Unlike that's like being okay. Anyway, so let's check to see if the number 720 38C5 38C5. Okay, so earlier people were mocking me because I was taking decimal digits and doing it amateur. This code gives the answer really clearly. Nobody will have any problem understanding. Okay. As his family inheritance, other emperors had withstood the papal claims, but none had ever proved an antagonist like Frederick. His quarrel seemed indeed to be with the Church itself, and with its doctrines and morals, as well as with the ambitions of churchmen, and he offered the strange spectacle of a Roman emperor, one of the twin lights in the Christian firmament, whose favor was less easily won by Christian piety, however eminent, than by the learning of the Arab or the Jew, when compelled at last to. So God is being funny. I told you, it's a fucking miracle. It is. It's so casual that you lose sight of it, but that's a fucking miracle. This is a fucking miracle. That's a fucking miracle. If you do an offering, you get a fucking miracle. That's how do you think the oracle worked in the old days?
Tap the screen to support what you'll be listening to next. Wherever you browse on our site, the audio continues uninterrupted.
The events that we all outside of Pakistan remember, for example, the horrible Peshawar school attack, December 2014, and then much more recently, the Lahore attack, where civilians, many Christians, but many others too, were targeted at Easter, just this last Easter. You know, there are hundreds of people dying as a result of your state's failure to get on top of the violent extremists inside your own country.
Stephen, I'm always impressed with how quickly you guys jump to calling us a failure, right? Because the task at hand is clearly very, very large, okay? The complexities within the situation are huge. And I'm not the one in Pakistan and out of Pakistan. I'm always accepting the fact that there were some unintended consequences of the Mujahideen who were trained on our soil by funding that came from your country and the US and Saudi Arabia, etc., to take the Soviet Union out of Afghanistan. Okay, now that left a deep void. Something, there was no exit.
Boys will be boys. About 3 years ago, I was distressed about Syria. I said, God, just let one side or the other win. Make it over. God said, no. The Greek debt crisis, God said it was funny. The biggest problem for the Creator is boredom. People pray to God to solve problems. He's probably causing the problems. God said war was servicemen competing. What problem? It's not good to be evil. What problem? God said the Iraq War was cultural pollination. The atheists say, how could a loving God cause such suffering? I don't know, you ask him. Well, I'm not going to ask him. What's up with the Pope? Hey, Charlemagne.
The Pope's week will begin to speed up on Wednesday, May 4th at 9:50 a.m. Pope Francis will hold a general audience where he greets pilgrims present and deliver a catechesis. On Thursday, May 5th at 6 p.m., he will hold a prayer vigil for all those in need of consolation in St. Peter's Basilica. On Friday, May 6th, starting at noon in the Regal Room of the Vatican, German Chancellor Angela Merkel will attend the delivery of the Charlemagne Prize to Pope Francis. He has been awarded the prize for 2016 in recognition of his efforts at global peace, cross-cultural understanding, and unity of Europe. At 5 p.m., the new Swiss Guard recruits will take their oath of loyalty in the historic St. Damaso courtyard within the Vatican. Pope Francis will not be in attendance. On Sunday, May 8th, the week will conclude with the traditional Regina Coeli prayer. The Pope will appear at the window of the papal apartments at noon to lead the prayer with pilgrims in the square.
Okay, I get good at this. So I got the NIST number, I plugged it into my Batman keyboard. I just exported to Linux. Now I'm going to upload It's exciting to blog in real time. It's no fun to publish it later. Well, that was a disappointment. That's no fun. Let's see if Cameron. We want it real time. You're no fun. You're no fun. Obama's not real time. Well, Malia headed to Harvard. I think I'm gonna avoid that. Hold on. Modi. What's up? Stephen Hawking is kind of a disappointment.
An informed patriotism is what we want. And are we doing a good enough job teaching our children what America is and what she represents in the long history of the world? Those of us who are over 35 or so years of age grew up in a different America. We were taught very directly what it means to be an American. And we absorbed almost in the air a love of country and an appreciation of its institutions. If you didn't get these things from your family, you got them from the neighborhood, from the father down the street who fought in Korea, or the family who lost someone at Anzio. Or you could get a sense of patriotism from school. And if all else failed, you could get a sense of patriotism from the popular culture. The movies celebrated democratic values and implicitly reinforced the idea that America was special. TV was like that too, through the mid-60s. But now we're about to enter the 90s, and some things have changed.
Atheist motherfuckers. The left is saying the religious people make us bottom of the world. The irony is we are exceptional. Hey, let's make a point about that. So let's talk about that. So Angela Merkel's very nice, but we're gonna make English the You like English, Mr. God? Let's this is not a good way to I think this is going to fail. I think this is going to fail. It's not a very anyway, let's see what we got. Be so famous for her beauty as she is. And here he heaved a sigh and sent it aloft and said, Sancho, let it pass for a jest, as it cannot be revenged in earnest. But I know what sort of jest in earnest it was, and I know it will never be rubbed out of my memory any more than off my shoulders. But putting that aside, will your worship tell me what are we to do with this dapple gray steed that looks like a gray ass, which from Martino that your worship overthrew has left deserted here? Now we're doing random words. God's favorite thing on TV is soap operas. You know, I just said this a couple days ago. But so this is
Introducing the completely redesigned Mercedes-Benz C Coupe. It doesn't just rate.
so Europe is a bunch of heathens. Look at this.
Of all point aspects. It saw a change in 2007 when the glass in the south transept window was changed. The original window had been blown out during the Second World War and had up until 2007 been temporarily replaced with plain glass. Today, the space is filled with a colourful pixel-based window which has been designed.
The motherfuckers. It's sarcasm. It's fucking heathens making a mockery. Motherfuckers. Angela Merkel, tear down this wall. It's a beautiful cathedral, except for that. Making that sarcasm. Angela Merkel, tear down this wall. God likes, I was admiring a beautiful mirrored glass megachurch, and God, I said, God, isn't that beautiful? God said, secular glass. God appreciates the tender, loving care. Stained glass. That's the focal point of a cathedral. The focal point of a, well, anyway, the highlight is the stained glass. Several times on her friend before the existence of such a person was known in Camden Place. At last it became necessary to speak of her. Sir Walter, Elizabeth, and Miss Clay returned one morning from Laura Place with the sudden invitation from Lady Dalrymple from the same evening, and Anne was already engaged to spend that evening in Westgate Buildings. She was not sorry for the excuse. They were only asked, she was sure, because Lady Dalrymple, being kept at home by a bad cold, was glad to make use of. So we're going to have God told the CIA to restore his level of respect to what it was. $2,000. 1980, 1960, 1750, 1200. Change BC, BCE, back. We are the superior culture. Simple as that. We got God. Atheist China's going, what? So we're going to have CU has the best cathedrals. The world is slacking. What have we done? Nothing. Computers are getting slower. CIA motherfuckers. They're making nigger cattle. That's my... They want docile, dumb people that just stand around. Nigger cattle, that's what I call them. You know what makes me very happy? Warms my heart. I'll show you what warms my heart. I like white people.
What kind of fuel does it take, Con? Kerosene plus... If you want to film us, you can stand beside us up there.
That's fucking cool. So there were Germans doing it. Little hobby jet. So the story is, well, my first job at age 20, not my first job, but at age 20 I was hired to work on Ticketmaster's fax operating system. And I studied low-level programming in university. And I was an atheist from 1990 to 96, and kind of had a freak out. Long story short, if you seek God, you will find him. You have to seek him. So I would read the Bible, and sometimes I would randomly open the Bible, and what do you know? It talked. So you're not really supposed to do that, but I started journaling and opening the Bible, and the critical thing is you need a context, and I was getting tactile hallucinations, touched by an angel. I never had auditory or visual hallucinations. Anyway, so you might, when I was programming my operating system, God would laugh when I made a bug and I did not see it. And then I would look, I still couldn't see it, and then I would discover it later. God puppets me. Jesus said, the Father is in me and I'm in the Father. You believe it or not, all that stuff makes sense. When I was young, I kind of read the flowery spiritual stuff, and I didn't really understand. I just assumed it was not very meaningful. I thought it was just flowery. Being filled with the Holy Spirit, what does that mean? Anyway, so I didn't, along the way, God said 640 by 480. He said, God is not the author of confusion. I think that's the one at first. He would say it was his temple at various points. Finally, Microsoft did secure boot, and at that point, I could no longer be a native operating system, and so I had to go nuclear, and I said, fine. You know what the answer is? God's gonna kick your fucking ass. And so along the way, God claimed it as his temple. We can get him to claim it. Let's see what he says right now. It's kind of really you should do it just once, but it works both ways. If you do it enough, he will claim it, but on the other hand, you have to keep doing it, because it's not like I can have a final proof. It would be nice to simply prove it once and for all, or disprove it. God doesn't like to repeat. Some people might be cynical, but you'll quickly catch on that he most definitely is talking. It's kind of hard to be cynical when it's really obvious. How can a loving God not cause the discovery of anesthetics for centuries? I'm not going to ask him. You ask him. How can a loving God cause the colonization of the New World? You ask him. She had spent the day, except that, as I supposed, the goal of her pilgrimage was Penistone Crags, and she arrived without adventure to the gate of the farmhouse when Harrington happened to issue forth, attended by some canine followers who attacked her train. They had a smart battle before their owners could separate them that formed an introduction. Catherine told Harrington who she was and where she was going, and asked him to show her the way. Finally, beguiling him to accompany her, he opened the... Okay, well, that was not very miraculous looking. It was weak. Pretty weak. It said an introduction, but pretty weak. It said an introduction. Okay, let's go back to
Tap the screen to support what you'll be listening to next. Wherever you browse on our site, the audio continues uninterrupted.
Are extremely clever, extremely powerful, extremely well financed and well equipped with modern weaponry and so on. Criminal gangs operating in other parts of the region are as well. I think it's more to do with the fact that at the end of the day, but there seems to be growing realization in the US, in Europe, in the region as well. We have a number of ex-presidents of different countries calling for legalization of drugs. You've had Uruguay move ahead with that proposition. You have Colombia seriously considering legalizing at least the medicinal use of marijuana, matching some things that have been going on, mirroring what's been going on.
I don't really want to get involved. Brave New World, where some people had soma. Drugs is kind of for losers. Why did God make drugs? We can get God. You want to talk about drugs? I just said we didn't. You have to be careful not to it can be too much fun. Being other people are suffering. Oh, I should have said drugs. You're supposed to do an offering. At the minimum, you need a context we have a context. It's a golden, well, one of those magic 8 balls is pretty, you have no indication if you got a response. The magic 8 ball, to the excellency of the understanding, as the women to the men, and to all offices of thy ministry, necessary for the perfecting of the faithful in this life, thou willst that for their temporal uses good things fruitful to themselves in time to come be given by the same faithful. All these we see, and they are very good, because thou seest them in us, who hast given unto us thy Spirit, by which we may see them, and in them love thee. O Lord God, give peace unto us, for thou hast given us all. That doesn't bother me. Every once in a while, it's like being in a car with a crazy driver. God, what are you doing? Nah, God, I'm the crazy driver. So Hawking is useless. Okay, I don't like this. Let's see. Let's see what Merkel's up to. How about that? And Prime Minister, or what? Chancellor? What is she? Chancellor? Chancellor. Putin. They just had Easter. Their calendar is different. When I said we were the Roman Empire, that's a complicated. What about the East? Whatever. Let's listen. I like Charlemagne. Did you know he was German? I thought he was French. Charlemagne was German. So I think the CIA's been busy. What the fuck? They really clusterfucked.
Well, as I say, we're dealing with the 8th century, 700 to 800, and because this is the last time that we're going to be talking specifically about the Franks and this whole Frankish era, I'm going to indulge in the luxury of a tiny bit of review. One of the best teachers I ever had would frequently say, repetition is the hallmark of education. Isn't that true? And so I'm not going to be going over this again, so I thought one more time I'll just give you the quick sketch of this Frankish era, and then we'll move on. So when we're talking about the Franks, the beginnings, of course, they are Germanic. They came down into the region called Gaul, which we call France, and they came down just after Rome abandoned it because Rome fell, the Roman Empire collapsed in the year 476.
But Frank sounds like France.
And so almost in the next breath, you have this Frankish ruler named Clovis who steps in, and while many had tried, he was the first one who successfully unites the Franks. They had all been disparate. They'd all been more or less at each other's throats and at the throats of a lot of other people. But Clovis is the one who is able, more or less based on military strategy and genius, to pull them all together.
Well, let's see what... Let's ask God if Charlemagne was French or German. Sisyphus. Let's do that. No, let's not do that. Okay, let's do that. Sisyphus. So, some things are easy to post. When I'm writing email, I can use the clipboard. Sometimes I blog when I write email. Some things are nicer email. Some things are nicer. Oh, this has a copyright, probably. So if you want to, you know what? I used to think it was from Dante, the Inferno. I thought that lazy people had to carry stones up a mountain, had to push boulders up a mountain, and every day they rolled back down. But Sisyphus is, it's not Dante. It could be Dante. I checked. But Sisyphus was, if you want to carve your name in stone, then you have to push boulders up hills and they roll back down. I thought it was just the punishment for being lazy was having to redo it. But that's not. I think they should, Alice in Chains should do the whole, they should do all the virtues and vices. Then they would have a whole album. They're a thoughtful band.
Tap the screen to support what you'll be listening to next. Wherever you browse on our site, the audio continues uninterrupted.
Hey, there were some math guys that were talking. Where are the math people? You're no fun. What's this? So, sweet and sugar. Or no, salt, not, what am I saying? Salt and sugar. Mexican, some Mexican stuff is kind of fucked up. There's I turned a little bit. God was against immigration but then he was for it. He probably doesn't want to talk. To be quite honest, God probably doesn't want to talk about most things, like abortion. He doesn't want to talk about that. So if I'm an asshole, I make him talk about it. You can't really trick him. You might as well be honest. You know, like, disguise the question. Anyway, bye. He gives mixed answers. If you ask him enough, you'll get every answer. Well, I love God. I'm awake. It's 2 a.m. right now. And it's surprising how many places in the Bible where nighttime is not a problem. You might think, sometimes it talks about darkness, but let's see what the Pope's up to.
Aspetta un pugno. Aspetta un pugno.
it says to that. That was a copyright. I'm supposed to be checking the time. Yeah, that's right. You see the timestamp? 8. This is my local clock, and the reason that's used is because it makes this link that you can check. And so on my blog, you can verify the random number because it has the time. Every minute is a random number, and as long as you post the minute in Unix time, then it works. I never pay attention to this guy, Oland. I don't even know what he looks like. What does he look like? That's not him. What's this?
40 Jahre auf der Welt. Glück und Leid hat man gezählt. So weiß man es genau, der Himmel, der ist blau.
How did they do that? That's a lot of work. There's some high quality comedy or satire, or whatever you call it, on those German sites. That must be a network. It's not. I don't think I'm gonna watch that. So I did better than this.
Fuck you.
This guy is fired. You are fired. He made the chips slower. That's the CIA trying to claw back, take the power from us, take our guns. Fuck you. You're fired. Intel's my bitch. What do you say, Mr. God? Fire the Intel guy. He's just doing it for the CIA, but that's... You're fired. you're fired. So here's what I tried to explain. Women try to be slim and men try to be strong. And a mobile device tries to be small. A desktop tries to be powerful. A desktop tries to be a supercomputer. Every year the supercomputer gets more and more strong. Somehow the CIA tricked everybody. They want an anorexic man. That's not healthy. An anorexic man. What the fuck? That's just freakish. There are cases of anorexic men. That's what Intel and the CIA, they have. They're fucked up. You want a powerful... Fuck that. Fuck that. We're going to make 100... In the early days of the PC, they wanted flexibility because they did not know the future. They wanted flexibility. Today, the industry is mature, and we get rid of all flexibility, and we lock it down because there's a big benefit to making it standard. Standard is much better for all the programmers, and it's a big problem when little Johnny writes his game. It runs on his 8-core machine that's 3 gigahertz. Then he goes over to his friend's house, who's poor. They bought one of the CIA Celerons that 500 megahertz, 32-bit. Why did you make that fucking piece of shit? Now look what you just did. You fucked it up so that everybody's game has to operate on a Celeron. So now everybody has to make it. They're limited. It fucks everything up. So we're going to make a standard. No wimpy computers allowed, because one wimpy computer fucks it up for everybody. So fuck that. Fucking anorexic. The CIA with their anorexic male desktops. Fuck that. How did you trick everybody into wanting an anorexic male? In the United States, we like SUVs. In theory. I'm not much of a car person, but I like Mustangs, I guess. Anyway, Now, if you're fat, you're not anorexic. Forget about it. You're not anorexic, you're fat. What I'm talking about myself, I guess. I'm not anorexic. I do drink a lot of soda. She talks to angels. When the pain comes, the black crows. Why does that guy? Hey, I forgot about this. BBC. They're with.
Tap the screen to support what you'll be listening to next. Wherever you browse on our site, the audio continues uninterrupted.
Town in the southwest of Bulgaria, there's apparently developed a stronghold of radical Islam over the past few years. Bulgarian authorities have detained a charismatic imam and his followers, accusing him of spreading ISIS propaganda amongst the Roma Gypsy community there and assisting jihadists. A new ban's been imposed on the public use of the burqa in Pazarjik, and that set the stage for a debate in Parliament on banning face coverings nationally. I spoke to Zonitsa Stoilova, who is a journalist there. She's investigated what's really going on in Pazarjik. She's been telling me more.
If we're the Roman Empire and the Muslims are the barbarians, you know, it's kind of like when God was against immigration, I thought, heck, that sounds much better. Now that you mention it. I don't know. It's a little, I think it's a little late for Europe to. Someone said it's half Muslim. Holy shit. It's a little. So what happens when China discovers God talking? I've thought about consequences, but I have no idea what happens if China discovers God. What's going to happen? They probably adopt some kind of ancestral spirits or something. Their dead relatives. One thing I learned, when you think you have catastrophic success, don't worry, you never ever have catastrophic success. Even when it seems like everybody agrees and catastrophic success, no, it's never catastrophic success. Even when it seems like everybody agrees. Well, no, niggers and normies, that's not. Barney Fife is a nigger. I'm in some kind of prison at the end of the day. I should stop broadcasting. So some people from 4chan are watching. Well, this has not been my best broadcast. I should do some demonstrations, except okay, well. Okay, well, I think I'm going to shut down.